If you feel you have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J or join our Facebook group.
Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, 18-hour special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform in the country, a show where you can get in touch with us directly for any of the issues related to your businesses, and we will have the most relevant experts to answer all of your queries. We understand the issues that you, the MSME entrepreneur, face, and this show aims to bring you the most relevant information. We are talking about organic branding today, and to answer those questions and to answer what organic branding is, I have with me on the panel Sumit Shahzad. He's the co-founder of Creda. I have Dr. Anil Menon. He's a professor at the SP Jain Center of Management. I also have Vikram Vora. He's the CEO at My Dentist. All right, so today we are talking about organic branding and what you, the MSME entrepreneur, should know about organic branding. And who better to talk about that than our experts who are in studio today. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for being with us here tonight. Maybe I can start with you, Dr. Menon, and ask you to talk to our viewers about what exactly organic branding is. When we talk about organic branding, what does it imply?
The basic function of organic branding is about how do you build up a brand and how do you basically perceive, how do your customers perceive your brand. What I also realize is with the current technology startups that's coming in, most of the entrepreneurs are very, very concerned about the technology part. They miss out on what we typically call as the GTM strategy, the go-to-market strategy, which is where organic branding plays a very, very important part. So if a customer is looking at your product, he needs to be identifying some experience. He needs to be identifying something which is unique to your particular product. In that sense, the use of social media, in that sense, the use of the modern ways of communicating is, I think, very, very imperative for the modern day startups.
Okay, so maybe I can ask each of you to talk about what exactly you're doing in the field of organic branding. Let me start with you.
So we've been an organically developed brand all along. So at My Dentist, one of the most important initiatives that we have is the whole concept of providing checkups for free. Now, My Dentist is the largest chain of dental centers today in India, and when we give a free checkup, what we make the customer do is experience the brand upfront without any actual compensation. And because of that, when a person comes and experiences the brand upfront, that's when he gets a perception about the brand. And from there, we grow the whole concept of what we call an inside-out approach on branding, where all our initiatives around branding is based on what our customers perceive about us and not about what our agencies or what our marketing individuals perceive about our brand. So every initiative or any input that we give towards a branding exercise has been based on feedback that we've received about our brand from our customers. That, I think, is the most important part about organic branding, that you look at the whole exercise from within. You identify the purpose of your brand, of your company, and then try to link all other activities to it. And the most important part that we do in that is this whole thing of free checkup, where we eliminate the barrier that the patient would have to first come and experience the brand. And then that grows into further experiences or further relationships with the brand that the customer develops. So that's one of the primary things that we do.
Okay, so I'll come back to that point that you're making and talk about, whether it is only in some sense social or, can come under, say, social entrepreneurship, if you want to classify it as that. But let's first talk about what you're doing at Creda in terms of organic branding.
We have done various interesting campaigns around organic branding. One of, as rightly said by Dr. Menon as well, the first thing which comes up is how you create the first level experience for the customer, and he gets to know about your brand. So for example, one of the things that we also done is we have done free bike health camps in various corporates, in various IT parks, which get them aware about like what is the condition of the bike, how they should maintain the bike, and they get to know like what kind of expertise that CREDA brings to the table when they help out in the whole journey of buying and selling of a used two-wheeler. Another important aspect that we did to create an organic brand for ourselves was a kind of a very good social initiative campaign that we did as Off OK Please. So this campaign got a marvelous support from public as well as from the government authorities, that if they wanted this to go as a live campaign for the whole city, where the whole city came up together and get to know like, okay, there is a company known as CREDA who exists in the automobile space, and they also come up with certain initiatives which help the city in a better manner. So there are various kinds of campaigns that we have done, and organic is all about like it also grows and evolves with the experience that you build for the customer. So once the customer gets a good experience with your brand in some of the offerings, he will create more and more word of mouth for you, and he will become an ambassador for you who will bring further customers for you. That's how like it helps us.
Okay, so the one thing that I'm picking up from both of you, you're using the word free a lot when you're talking about organic branding, and I want to throw this question open to all three of you and ask you to comment on, just how crucial that aspect of it being free in that sense, because for MSMEs, everything is coming at a cost. So if you're offering these services, these products, these experiences free of cost, how does this really work in the long term for MSMEs? I want to open it up to the three of you.
So, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the model that I'm sure the colleagues would agree, the model that we have here is the freemium model. So typically what is being done is initially the customers go have a first-hand feel, and then they are charged for it. Most MSMEs, or if I could say this, are getting the first part right. So when they offer it free, a lot of colleagues come and they experience the product. It's when the premium is charged that is where the next inflection point comes in. Here I would like to add two things. You need to be very clear about your business model. If it is B2B, then possibly it's not social media, it's content marketing which really works. And here I'd like to give you a very good example, and it's not essentially a startup, but I'm talking about a company like Johnson & Johnson. What they have done very well is they have created a closed net group of oncologists where they keep feeding in content. Now what happens is it's free of cost, but once you get in there, you experience, you understand that a lot of things that's coming up in that field, and automatically link it to Johnson & Johnson. And this is incidentally developed by a startup, right, ISPG Technologies. If it is B2C, then social media plays a big role, and that is where the word of mouth, as the esteemed colleague was saying, right, that really propels your brand forward. So the word here, if I would use, is freemium. Right.
Okay, do either of you want to add to that?
So when we say free, it's basically an engagement level, and I assume with CREDA also it's the same thing. So you would want the person to engage with the brand first, and in order to get the person to engage with the brand, there are two ways to do it. Either you do it organically by providing him some way of getting in the whole ecosystem, or otherwise going out into mass media and what they typically call a large branding push. For MSMEs, especially for us, we are a very cost conscious company. So for us, if something can be done organically, even if it takes time, we would choose that.
So while Vikram is an offline brand and he's talking more to an older audience, you are talking to much younger crowd, I presume. So how has your experience been, and what would you have to add?
Yeah, so obviously for us, like obviously in contrast, we have a kind of audience which has been the age of group of 18 to 35, which is pretty young. We are very much active on the social media. There are certain features which has been built on our product because we got such a recommendation on our social Facebook post that some customers, many of them recommended we need comparison between two bikes and reviews, and that's what we brought on our feature, and which played very well for us. So for us, yeah, being active on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram has been very crucial, and we have been able to connect to our audience very well on those kind of platforms, and it worked for us because our target audience is again on the lines that it is very predominantly use the social media angle. Also on the side of a free model, is yes, for example, there is a funnel. So there is a large pool of people who just discover, then there's a set of pool who engage, then set of pool try, and then finally who will purchase. So if as a brand, if you're present to anyone who is just discovering, someone who is just trying to see a review of a bike and he sees an expert review from CREDA, that is the first touch point he creates with us, and then there is high chances when he wants to engage or want to try, he will come back to us. So that's where we try to position ourselves, that's where we try to engage with the customer at the first level of discovery. That's what we try, and that has worked very well for us.
Okay, so let me then take a, an amalgamation of what the two of you have said. Is it necessary for MSMEs who are using such organic branding to necessarily hire an external agency? For example, both of you are young entrepreneurs. You understand, I assume, to a large extent how social media works and how it should be used. What about MSMEs who don't fit in this age bracket and are talking to an older audience? Then what would you suggest? Do you necessarily have to hire an agency or an expert which will help you deal with the nuances of social media?
In my view, I think MSMEs typically should have an in-house person who's able to actually deliver this kind of an engagement level branding initiative to the company. And we have a very closed loop environment on that.
Okay, but Sumit, given that the audience that you talk to is so young and technology is changing so much and the interfaces are changing so much, how do you as the MSME and you as the startup entrepreneur really stay on top of technology?
Correct. So definitely as a company we believe that building a brand organically is very important. But as we come to another part of it, that few companies might not have that much focus on building or growing organically, and they have a key focus on building their products or the manufacturing sector. For them, from a suggestion from my side would be that if they are on a scale of pan-India, hiring an agency who would actually manage and take care of such kind of business is useful. But if it's a small company who is just in 4 cities or 5 cities, then it's not that worth to be there or to even think about it. But for a pan-India scale company who doesn't have in-house, obviously in-house is the best option, that you have some people who understand your business, who understand your segment and help you out in growing or engaging with the customer would be the best option. But in other case, if you're pan scale level, and then the presence becomes very much mandatory, and then it helps out.
Okay, so let me maybe take a step back and ask each of you to tell our viewers what, in your opinion, is the top 2 do's and the top 2 don'ts when it comes to organic branding and using social media and technology.
Right, the top 2 do's: 1, align your product to the customer experience. So when you start from scratch itself, I think Paperboat is a great example. Even the name should signify, right? We have another example here, right? So the name should signify what the customer should expect. The top 2 don'ts: don't overpromise, right? And then, right, you underdeliver. And number 2, right, the internal communication. I think we have been talking a lot about external communication. Are your employees also in line, your team in line with what is your aspirations? So that, I believe, is extremely important for organic branding to succeed.
So the first thing is to have an inside-out approach on what you want to be, and then build on that. And the second part is, like Sir said, that about having the employees on board. So it's more internal than external, because organic branding is based on what the customers would take back after the experience. And this experience is completely based on what your employees feel about the brand. So for us, everything is green. We've chosen green. Our entire office is green. Our entire clinics are green. I'm wearing green, and I wear this all along. And a lot of the people, it's not compulsory in our offices, but a lot of people in office voluntarily wear this t-shirt and they buy it. We don't give it for free, right? So that actually associates a lot of brand value, that even if you want to wear this t-shirt, you're going to pay money for it. They buy it. So that's where the whole feel of an internal branding thing also comes out, and then ultimately it reflects in the form of branding exercises that they can drive.
So from my perspective, obviously I did many points have been already told over here. The first thing is understand your audience clearly. Have a clear understanding who is your target audience, which are the correct mediums to reach out to them, where they will create a good connect with you, and try to be on those kinds of channels. The second one is try for a symbiotic coexistence with other startups or platforms. Today, marketing or sales is pretty expensive, and in a world where everyone talks about unit economics, you try to understand, is there another partner who has a similar kind of target audience, and can you both together leverage upon it? That is something which really makes, we had some great examples where we've been very successful in doing this. So that is quite a strong do in today's market or the scenario. That few 2 don'ts which has to be there in place is, have your you need to really understand when do you want to go strongly all out in terms of branding or marketing. If you, as mentioned earlier as well, if your product, your processes are not aligned to give customer the best experience, the propositions are not so strong in the field, then spending that money today in terms of marketing or building a brand would not give you the end result that you did want. So that has been a failure for many companies. At what stage they should really go out and do an all-out branding.
All right, so We are essentially, lots of interesting points have come up, particularly to talk about how the employee should also be aligned with the brand. And I like what you were saying in terms of brand consistency. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we'll discuss all of those points and tell you what you, the MSME entrepreneur, should know about organic branding. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're talking about organic branding. Just before we took the break, I was asking a panel of experts about what some of the do's and don'ts are when organic branding is concerned. You had an interesting point to make, Dr. Menon, and in fact, you were also talking, Vikram, you were also talking about how employees are also so crucial when it comes to branding, and that not a lot of people talk about internal communication when it comes to building a brand. How crucial is it, and what would your advice be for MSMEs?
I think that's the most important thing, if you ask me. So, right, so if you, it's rather better not to advertise and reach out to the customer if you don't get your internal processes in place. My experience of mentoring many startups has been, they are always in a dilemma. One, because they're short of funds. Second, they're not sure about the timing. So what I essentially tell them is, even if it's a closed group net, you need to communicate to all of them. Okay, what do you want the customer to understand from you? Right? What do you stand for? Once that is communicated, then it becomes easier for you to reach out. And I'm sure that standardization, I think, is missing in some startups. It is there in some startups, which actually then becomes the key factor for success.
But on the flip side, Dr. Menon, what about brands and startups that are responding to what the market is demanding of them? You're starting out, you're trying to figure which segment of the market you should fit into, and therefore you're changing. And what is the kind of consistency then that you communicate in terms of your brand? I mean, have you ever had those challenges?
Yeah, so definitely I completely agree with the point that with Dr. Menon has said, and that's what I mentioned, like that you need to understand the correct stage. In the initial phase of, like, let's say 8 to 12 months of your time, you actually try out and experiment multiple things. You might have 3 or more strong propositions that you don't know which one will actually work upon, which one will actually click upon, and you would try multiple outwards here. And that is a time when you should do experiments in kind of, it's a kind of alpha mode where you do experiment X in one city, another in another city, and you try out what works best for you, and you collate the data over a period of time, and then you come out and said, okay, after 9 months of 12 months of exercise and activity, we know these are the top 3 my propositions, strong positions, these are the top 3 communications that has to be built upon with my audience, and this is what is going to stand for my brand. And once you have achieved to that level, that makes sense to go out and do a branding or create a strong branding campaign for you. Till the time, you need to ensure that you do all your experiments, you do various kinds of prototyping, and then you come out with a strong proposition or the final communication out to the market.
What opportunities, in your opinion, Dr. Menon, can you advise for our MSMEs about tying up with larger brands? How can smaller brands leverage the power, the partnership, the brand recall that a larger brand can bring to the table?
So first, identify your target segment. So if it is in symbiotic with your target segment, the bigger ones, you can always tie up. The example I like to give is one of the companies that I've looked at is they have started this taxi ads. So what they have done very well is they have tied up with, now this works very well in US, it's working well in Canada. So this gentleman is trying to bring it down to Mumbai. So what he's doing is he's talking to the Ola cabs, he's talking to Meru. And now he has realized that the target segment is same. Now, how do you go across reaching out to them? So rule number one is target segment. Second, reaching out can be cost effective if both of them agree that it's going to work beneficial for both of them. Like in this case, now there's going to be a fee sharing with the taxi company. So the taxi companies are now ready to share data, they're ready to experiment this entire thing. One important thing I thought I should add to what two dear young colleagues were saying, the negative feedback comes especially when you're moving from the free model to the premium model. And that is exactly where customers then start pointing out things are going wrong. And what is important for companies is, and you could check any example for that, is that they need to immediately respond. And second, time where the social media is used by customers is when the startups are scaling up. And that's the time where they possibly move out from the customer experience. The answer, I'd like to again circumvent exactly what dear Vikram and dear Sumit said, that do you engage them? You can't possibly satisfy all of them, but can you at least respond to them and say, okay, you have had your problems with us, we apologize, we'll look into it. And that, I think, is the freemium model part. You just go to any of these websites, moment they move from free to premium, the moment a customer starts paying, he expects more, much more.
Okay. What lessons can Indian MSMEs and startups learn from global peers?
Obviously, from there have been very excellent examples of how you can engage with the customer and use it to build a strong organic brand for yourself. For example, the recent launch of iPhone 6, like when they launched, the key feature they brought, like before iPhone 7, the iPhone 6 launch, the key feature brought was the camera. And the one thing they did, that they brought photographs of all the Apple users who tried to click a photograph through iPhone 6, and they put up big hoardings and banners around the city of these kinds of banners, of these kinds of photographs. And so it was a real engagement with the customer, like how someone can use a ATL channel, like which was considered to be non-engaging, like you are using a hoarding, but how you can intelligently use it in a kind of a creative and engaging manner, that you're putting up a photograph of an actual user on such a big hoarding on a major street of a city like New York. So it creates massive engagement with or mindshare for you with your major free organic users. So that's what we need to really learn, that how you can go out of the box, how you can think through core into your point. I believe right now it's just the evolution of the startups and moving to another big scale, and we focus a lot right now on performance marketing, like how you convert, how you bring more sales using the marketing spend. But we need to really learn and from the big stewards of foreign, that how those people are using smartly the marketing or brand value to engage the customer, and then how it drives the sales for them directly. So this is one of the best examples that I've seen right now.
All right. It's been an engaging conversation. I wish we had more time, but we've run out of time. But if I'd like to sum it up, definitely engage with your employees is one key piece of advice, and definitely also engage with those customers who aren't necessarily satisfied, because that is also a user base for you. And MSMEs can't shy away really from looking at organic branding, looking at digital, looking at technology. Thank you all, gentlemen, very much for being with us here tonight. That wraps up our discussion around organic branding. Do remember that if you want your company to be featured on the Leaders of Tomorrow, if you have any queries, you can get in touch with us. You can write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can tweet at me personally. My Twitter handle is Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or you can call us on that number that you see flashing on your screen. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
If you feel you have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J, or join our Facebook group.